Moxie, Benji, becomes an Oathbreaker paladin for the 3rd time. This was the point where the campaign was going to abruptly end a lot quicker than anyone thought, for various reasons. So I will take you through what actually happened, and then I will take you through my headcanon of what I would have had that Moxie Benji do over the rest of his 10 years. So in canon, Benji took a while to notice. The blindfold slowly stopped working, but he wasn't blind, he couldn't see. And he took the blindfold off, and he had his eyes back. Both of them. And he blinked, looked around, and looked at the enchanted blindfold, and it was no longer magic, it was just a sheet of cloth. And he tucked it away and he kept it on him, and he pulled out his sword, and it was just a sword. And he tried to cast magic, and it didn't come. And he called out to Pelor, he got no response. And he realised that Pelor had overheard everything he had said to Soon, and had taken his "I wish that none of it had ever happened" as "I wish I wasn't with Pelor anymore." Initially he was terrified, and he called out to Pelor and he said he was sorry, and he asked about Seb. He said, "Where is he? Is he okay? Please don't punish him. I didn't mean this on him. I didn't mean to. And he gets no response. And he goes back to the party, and out of character, initially they were kind of annoyed because they were like, "Well, you were a really powerful paladin, now what, you're just a fighter? What?" Benji was disappointed and upset, but he went back to his piratical training, and on a technical level he was just a fighter. And he asked the clever members of the party, and he said, "What's going to happen to me in the afterlife? Am I still damned?" And they discovered that he probably wasn't now. What Pelor had done, it seemed to be, he had essentially pardoned Benji from his damnation, but not his name curse, but his damnation was gone. So when he died, he would go and be judged like anyone else who didn't have a deity, and they would judge his life. And Benji thought, okay, well, that's better, I guess. So he didn't look for another deity, and he settled into life as a fighter. And they had to fight the big bad guys, and it was coming up super quick, and it was coming up a bit quicker than it would have done because the campaign was very abruptly ending, and we didn't already know this at the time. So the big fight was coming up, and they all converged. They got all the people together. Benji's aunt was there, and she was not very impressed with him, but they didn't really have time to talk about it because the big fight was coming, and they all started fighting the first wave, and then they had like a night of downtime before they were going to go off, and they were going to fight the huge guy, and they could all die. It could be a TPK, the world could get destroyed, they could fail, all of this was going to happen. And they sat around this campfire, and there was a huge camp of thousands of people, and there was all these people ready to fight this thing that was coming tomorrow, and they were all ready. And Benji was there with his swords and his friends. Some of the people in the party were coupled up, and they had sweet stories happening. Benji was just sort of sat by the campfire, just keeping warm and thinking about what was to come. And then he was getting ready to go to bed when he heard quick footsteps coming up behind him. And before he could turn, somebody huge and strong just tackled him around the shoulders and sent him flying onto the ground. And as he rolled over and he looked up, trying to draw his sword, he saw a crimson tiefling with bright emerald eyes and a huge sheaf of dark hair just braced on top of him. And Benji just blinked and looked up at him and said, "Seb?" And Seb just grinned down at him and said, "Hello, my horizon. I'm here to fight." And I was shocked, and Benji was shocked. And he just couldn't say anything for ages, and then he just grabbed him and he kissed him and he said, "But you know who you are, what?" And Sebastian said, yeah, I got, all my memories came back to me. A deity I don't know came and gave me my memories back and told me why it happened, and said I had to come and fight, and said I should be with you at because it could be the very end and we should be together. And I, as a player, I'm still not 100% sure. I think it was Pelor, because we were coming up to a big, huge, could be a TPK, and so a lot of other people, their families had arrived to come and wish them luck, so I rolled with it. So, you know, sort of 4.5 years into the 10-year sentence, they got it broken. And Sebastian had been doing decent. He'd been working as a farmer, he'd been being a fairly good person, and they got brought together, and Sebastian was there, and they got married. And they got married that night before the massive battle, and then they went and they did the huge massive battle against the big bad evil guy, and they won. There was a big feast the day after to celebrate them winning everything. Benji took Seb over to meet his aunt and tried to sort of make amends, and they had a It wasn't very good because the aunt had found out about Benji's sort of drug abuse at one point when he was at a very low point, and she had said she didn't want that around her children, but eventually they sort of made a truce, and the party and everybody got celebrated as heroes, and Benji and Sebastian went off on a new ship, and they got a crew and they became adventurers, and they traveled the world as adventurers with no paladins, no deities. They just traveled the world as adventurers. That was the very quick ending I came up with, because the campaign pretty much ended bang just after they had had the big feast and he'd spoken to his aunt, and we didn't play another game after that. It just ended. So that was how, canonically, Moxie's story ended. I don't mind it, I think it was fine. However, I, as a player, would have been perfectly happy to play out the 10-year sentence and see what happened. I was aware that the DM was making some rolls and some decisions without me. I wanted no part in it about what Sebastian was doing. I had no idea what Sebastian was doing. I didn't know if it was going to work out at all. I was just, I was playing Moxie, Benji, and he believed that it would do. So I was perfectly willing to have him play out. So if we had not ended the campaign where we had done, I don't think they would have broken the deal. I think that it would have stayed for 10 years and he would have played it out, and we would have seen if it had gone very well, then same sort of ending. They would have got married, they would have gone off on their ship. But if it ended badly, it's difficult. If Sebastian had done bad and they'd been brought back together for a moment to say goodbye, and then he'd been damned to the afterlife, I think Moxie might have followed him. I'm just not sure. It would have been a really difficult decision. I don't want to throw away a character, but I don't know, because it was in very deep at that point, and I think that whether or not he really was the love of his life, Benji believed that Sebastian was, and if Sebastian had done bad things and been sentenced down to the afterlife to live a damned afterlife existence, I think he might have followed him. So, but we don't focus on that. We focus on the canonical ending that was perfectly happy and cheerful. And if we had played on for longer, then yeah, I would have been perfectly happy to do the 10 year sentence, and then get to each other when they're like 40 something, get married, go off and have their own adventures. I didn't intend for him to be an oathbreaker for the third time. I didn't intend that. It was a conversation with Soon, but I as a player and him as a character, we were not watching our words, and so I think our comeuppance was it was mutually both Benji's and my own mistake, but I'm okay with that. It was essentially player slip of the tongue, player error that did in fact make that happen, but I don't mind it because actually it does fit Moxie, Benji's character as a whole. I think that, yeah, I think he did deserve that one. So, this is the end of my D&D story time. I think this video is going to run quite long because I've had to delete a bunch of footage in my phone just to fit on how much I have to say for this video. So apologies, and thank you for sticking with me, and I am going to have some more cake. Thank you for sticking with me to hear this story time. Anyone who is still here, thank you very much, because this character means a great deal to me. He still does. My current character, Kuri Muster, he is also a pirate, and he takes quite a lot from my experiences playing Moxie. Bear in mind, Moxie was probably only like the third character I ever played, and the first character I played for longer than a few months. I played Moxie for a few years. I really got to know him, really fell in love with this character, and I really wanted to have some aspects of him that I really enjoyed playing and I wanted to do different. So when I made Kuri, I made him a swashbuckler pirate, like so a rogue, proper pirate. He was a pirate. No paladins, no, never again. I played him as a drow, my other favourite race. And I had a similar dynamic with his dad, so it's just his dad, doesn't know about his mom, and I said the DM could do whatever he wants with that. His dad is still alive in this campaign. So yeah, Kuri has similar things to Moxie, but he's a very different character. I do play him very differently, but he has some aspects that I really love from Moxie. Ultimately, I'm really glad that I got to play Moxie. He taught me a great deal about D&D. He taught me that paladins don't suck, which was a very bad mental thing I had before. I always assumed that playing a paladin must be really boring, and to play a paladin you had to be like awful good and dull, and yeah, I was mistaken. So I'm very glad I learned about that. I learned a lot about roleplay. I learned a lot about where my limits are. I learned a lot about how to roleplay with other people through him, just because I played him so much and for so long. And yeah, I learned just how powerful characters can be and how just amazing it is to play a character that you love. It's just, there's nothing quite like embodying and playing a character that you are genuinely invested in. I already knew how much I love storytelling. I really love a good story, and for me, the story I got to tell just to myself with Moxie was really cool. He had some horrible things happen to him that I would never have imagined at the start. I made this happy-go-lucky, just tiefling paladin chap to just, you know, rock up and just be a bit chaotic, and he ended up going through a whole yeah, he learned. He went through a whole arc, and I love him 100%, absolutely, and I hope you guys love him too now. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my story of Moxie Brethren, Benji Lavore, and ultimately Benji Thor. So that'll be it for today's Monday Madness. I hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me about your D&D characters in the comments below, please. I would love to know all of the stories of your D&D characters. If there is anything else you would like to know about Moxie/Benji, then chuck questions in the comments and I will answer as many of them as I possibly can. Next week's video is actually sponsored. Some very kind soul has sponsored me to do a video where I'll be talking about musicals, dressed in a particular cosplay while I do it. So that's going to be fun for everybody. So if you'd like to tune in for that one, that'll be next Monday. Next Monday's Monday Madness. And if you guys have any suggestions or requests, by all means chuck them in the comments below or commission me and I will do them post haste. If you guys would like to be committed to me on a monthly basis, I have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/MaukusNoise, links in the doodly-doo. And I also have a Ko-fi as well. For those of you who do not wish to be committed to me on a monthly basis, I 100% understand. I can't even be committed to a bag for life. I've got about 25 of them. If you would like to support me in my cosplay, in my 12 months of cosplay challenge, which I am doing, I'll be posting my March vlog of my grave robber outfit very soon. It is finished, it's just over there. I'll be putting it on and finishing the vlog. That will come out at the end of the month, and then I'll be announcing what my April one is. But if you would like to support me and assist me to do any of this and help buying all of my stuff and creating crazy content for you guys, I also have Ko-fi. If you don't want to be committed like a Patreon, that's absolutely fine. You can chuck me any support as often or as little as you would like on Ko-fi. Again, ko-fi.com/MaukusNoise. So I am MaukusNoise. Thank you very much for staying through this entire video. I hope you enjoyed the tale of Moxie Brethren /Benji Lavore /Benji Thor. I will see you all very soon. Goodbye.